that for granted most of the time. Seth, I'm listening to people here at Ocean Casino, and the Eagles have won the game, and they're lamenting, well, what about that secondary? I can't believe the secondary. so the way that the Commanders started this game was an easy formula. They were going to throw short passes to move the football that way. And so how did the Eagles allow them to do that?
Well, the same thing that the Eagles, the game plan looked the same as the first game. And I think that's why, they were able to put up another 31 points on them all over again, is because the Eagles' mode of operation is to play off with your cornerback and try to let your DBs, try to let your defensive line get there and get pressure. So all game long, Sam Howell standing back there throwing the ball on rhythm and throwing them on time because they're not disrupting the routes of the wide receivers. They're not getting up and challenging people at the line of scrimmage. They're just playing off. You can't play against a team like that. Sam Howell's proven to you in the last time you played him that he could do this. And even when they got into their zone situations, there's a difference between dropping to a zone, dropping to a landmark, and looking at the quarterback, and dropping to a zone but being aware of what players are around you and matching up with the players that's around you. And what I saw the Eagles linebackers at the second level of the Eagles defense do today is that they would drop to a landmark and they're looking at Sam Howell, and Sam Howell is throwing the ball to the right or to their left because you got guys that get behind that second level, and he's just peppering them just everywhere that you can turn. The Eagles have got to figure out a way to develop, a system of zone match so that they can match up with some of these wide receivers in some of these situations, because, if not, that's going to be the blueprint. And when you start playing against these better teams, you got the Cowboys next week. You come back off of that, you got Kansas City. You got Buffalo, you got the 49ers, and then you got the Cowboys again. Those passing attacks against this style of defense will get them beat more times than not if they don't figure out a way how to shore things up quite a bit better than they did today. I mean, to your point, it was not a pretty win by any stretch, and I'm just as miffed about this as to why it is Washington gives them so much more of a headache than any other team in the National Football League.
The Eagles are really a mystery team, because I don't think one week carries over to the other. Like, we're looking at this like, oh, they got secondary problems. Like, next week they may come out and look completely different and be sharp as hell. So I don't know how to react to this team. But let's react to Sam Howell first of all. He went 39 of 52 for 397 and 4 touchdowns today.
Good Lord.
He was sacked once, as we talked about before. It was a big sack. But you're talking about a guy who had 40 sacks coming into this game. He sacked 40 times. He was on pace for an all-time NFL record, and he decided, or the staff decided, we got to get this guy to get the ball out of his hands quick. And they did it. Now, at one point, the Commanders took a 24-17 lead. It was the fourth quarter when he hit Logan Thomas for a TD on a 3rd and goal situation, and he got inside Blankenship. Blankenship would come back and make a big play later. At that point, D-Gun, Howell was 33 for 39 to 304 and 3 TDs with 0 sacks. And the Commanders, terrible on third downs all season, were 7 of 10 converting third downs, and they had the 24-17 lead.
Yeah, you know what? They have been chastised for so long as an offensive line for being so porous. Usually when you have a bad game, coaches make adjustments, in this case line adjustments, line calls, sliding the line protection one way or the other. But because this offensive line was so bad and they've had so many injuries, basically whatever they tried just didn't work. And the Giants exposed them last week. So whatever line changes, line calls they made for this week against one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League, it decides to work on this particular day. I mean, at one point, Sam Howell was like 18 of 19, and I'm thinking, is this dude Joe Montana or what? He was picking that defense apart, Mike, and this is what's scary. If Sam Howell is picking this defense apart like this past defense, you don't think somebody else is going to try to duplicate this with better personnel, better quarterbacks, better strategy? Eagles can win a shootout But you don't want to have to rely on shootouts each and every week. You just don't in this league because that's more detrimental than good for you.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're happy that Howie goes out and get Kevin Byard. I don't think the pass defense is going to be any better than what we saw. I really don't.
You know, and it's a good point because we keep going back to the fact that they had to play some young and inexperienced guys. But
Sure.
they had Bradbury and Slay in the game today, and they had Byard. Listen, he's only been there for a couple of days, so I get it.
Right.
But they should have been, at least when you look on paper, a little more solid back there. So I guess it is a cause for concern. But again, like this team, I wipe away 1 week to the next because the next week they could come out and play like champions.
You don't know. And Mike, here they sit at 7-1. We sit here and we scratch our heads. How did they get to 7-1? But you look at the numbers they put up offensively. You look at the big plays they make defensively. They were the best run defense in the league. As porous as they were in the pass game, they're the best run defense in the National Football League.
All right, Seth, you want some good and bad? Let me give you a little good and bad. Right here's the good. A.J. Brown sets an NFL record today with his 6th straight game with 125 or more yards. The guy is just a flat-out monster out there. And Devontae Smith had an incredible game. The bad, 2 fumbles lost inside their 5-yard line.
Yes.
And they still win this game.
You know, I'm telling you, the Eagles are a turnover machine. You know, they started off protecting the ball early in the season, and the defense was on pace, you know, with almost 2 to 2.5 turnovers per game. And now it seems like the Eagles are leading the way. Every single week, you got 2 to 2.5 turnovers by this team every single week. And it's like, what is the message that Nick Sirianni is sending this team? Because as a head coach, I am livid right about now because you can't turn the ball over at the clip that they're turning it over and expect to keep winning. They are lucky to be 7-1 as many times as they've turned the ball over the last 3-4 weeks. They've defied the odds. You know, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You get Gainwell down there to begin with. He fumbles the ball. I mean, the Eagles could have easily scored 45, 50 points today if they don't have these 2 turnovers down in the red zone. But it makes no sense whatsoever that you're not protecting the ball. It makes no sense whatsoever, you know, for Jalen Hurts not to secure the ball in a tush push. How many times does he run that play? On the goal line and you fumble the ball in a tush push down on the goal line? I just, you know, see, these are the things that continue to worry me. And I talked about it last week how, like you said, I'm trying to sit back and I'm trying to just enjoy the fact that this football team has only got 1 loss and enjoy the fact that they're playing as well as they're playing. But the fact of the matter is, I've been around this game way too long, you know, to not be aware of the circumstances and the situation. How you play from week to week is essentially a preview of how you're going to play in the most critical of times, especially how you play when you're under pressure. Because when you're under pressure, you always revert back to those things that you do, you know, when you're under pressure. So at what point in time are we going to get that version of the Eagles that don't allow these pressurized situations, you know, to put them in this position?
Here's a concern of mine watching this game. It's obvious that Jalen Hurts is hurt, and he's hobbling around now.
Oh, wait, Mike. Oh, there's too much being made of this. Jalen's not hurt.
There's not too much being made. Listen, I see why the Eagles want to bury this.
Yes, I do too.
But he's obviously hobbled to the point where he wasn't interested in scrambling out of the pocket today. And I wondered, Seth, if you see that as a defensive coordinator, do you not just come with heat all the time? He sat back there. He was able to hit guys like A.J. Brown with some time. And, in fact, at one point, it was late in the fourth quarter, he was 15 for 15 for 228 and 3 TDs when he targeted A.J. and Devontae. So every time he targeted was a completion because he sat back and was allowed to deliver that without the threat of him being able to run out of the pocket. And I was surprised that Washington didn't put more heat on.
Listen, I'm one of those people. Listen, first of all, they couldn't do it because A.J. was torching them. You know, you can't bring pressure unless you've got a guy that you can put him on A.J. and say, okay, you got him, and we're not worried about it. The truth of the matter is it didn't matter whether it was, you know, whether it was Forbes, you know, or what's the other guy's name?
Kyle Fuller?
No, St. Juice.
St. Juice, yeah.
It doesn't matter, either one. You know, neither one of those guys could cover him one-on-one, so you can't put those guys out on the island. The minute that Jalen Hurts sees it, you saw in the 4th down situation. you know, he went deep with the ball and got the PI, you know, where he should have been trying to get the first down. But anytime that he gets that matchup, he's going to his number one guy.
He also needs time to do that.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm
you know
saying
what?
maybe you don't give it because other teams, you see how they've wanted to go after Jalen Hurts, get on him quick. And I think the Redskins kind of like they had a golden opportunity and they pulled off of that concept.
Well, I will say this. Washington did bring a number of blitz packages. Eagles' offensive line and the running backs did a great job of stepping up and stopping that blitz and giving Jalen Hurts a few extra seconds to throw. That was a huge difference between success and failure in this game. A number of times Washington would try to bring a safety or corner up in the middle. Somebody was there to meet him. They would try to bring a pressure from the edge. Somebody was there to stonewall him. So that Eagles front did a very good job of keeping heat off of Jalen Hurts. They're going to have to do that consistently the rest of the way.
Mike, I don't mind Jalen Hurts playing the game from the pocket the way he did.
Well, you've been talking about that all year.
Listen, I think the only way that he puts up these types of numbers is from the pocket. You know, I don't want to see him run. He still had what? He still had 4 carries today for 6 yards, and in my mind, that's too many. Because how many of those? Okay, so you had the 2 tush pushes, and he had one real scramble. Okay, I don't want to see him run the football. That's what you got running backs for.
Yeah, but the idea that he can run the ball, I think, is really important when you're trying to defend him. And if you look at the tape here and he's hobbling around, that's what this can't come quickly enough.
I get it. And even though he's hobbled, there's still going to be times and there's still going to be situations in games where the only opportunity that they're going to have in that moment and then in that time is for him to take off and run. But I would rather him play from the pocket, you know, and I would rather them have to prepare for it and not see it, and then as a surprise you spring it on them and they use it where they have to use it. But I want him playing from the pocket. I do not want to see my quarterback in Jalen Hurts out there running all over the place and you call him, you know, 15, 16, you know, run plays for him a game. It's just you're asking for trouble.
The fact that he had 4 carries for only 6 yards is direct indication that something's wrong. Because
Absolutely.
Those 4 carries in the past would have been for 35, 40 yards, okay? So coordinators are going to start picking on this up. Watch them start scheming him a little bit different. You know, now that they know that he's reluctant to run, you're going to see – you still got Steve Spagnuolo coming up. You got Dan Quinn coming up. These coordinators. Dallas's defense is coming after him. I'm telling you that right now. They have one of the fastest fronts in the NFL. They're going to force the issue with Jalen in a lot of different ways, and I can't wait to see how the Eagles' offense responds to what Dallas tries to do against them next week.
There were a couple of passes that we were talking about Sam Howell, but there were 2 really glaring drops in this game where he didn't deliver the football to Terry McLaurin. Now, a good pro receiver probably makes both of those catches, which would have helped him. That drive stalled because of that.
Right.
But I thought by the end, Howell had gotten a little skittish. He didn't deliver those balls on time the way he had delivered most of them. I
think once he threw that interception, it changed his perspective because he went out there and played a near flawless game up to that point. In a crucial situation, in a tight game like that, all of a sudden, anything after that, you want to be a little bit extra cautious, which causes you, number one, to miss that window of separation, or number 2, hold the ball a little bit longer for a defense to get to you. Now, he made a beautiful throw on that touchdown at the end to get them within 7, a meaningless touchdown. But after that, you could tell there was a little bit difference in terms of how he delivered the ball down the field after that.
Seth, they ran the ball 4 times in the first half. I know, like you look at that number and you go, they actually started to run it a little bit in the third quarter. They made it a point to run the football. I don't understand how those kind of things happen.
Well, because it's their initiative. You know, it's like I said, they want to throw the football. There's just no doubt about it. And they firmly believe that if they throw the football enough and they get enough of a lead, that they can get to a point in the fourth quarter where they can run the ball and run the clock out. You know, I mean, they got down after they went up by 7. They had to turn around and give the ball back again. You know why? Because they ran it on first down. They got 1 yard. They went incomplete on second down, incomplete on third down, and they had to punt the ball. and then here we go all over again. And the only way that they really get the ball back again when they go up by 14 is that Washington turns it over on down, and then they run it in, for the other touchdown. But it's just they are defiant in a way, to the fact that, they need to and should run the football.
It's very peculiar, but everybody who's watching at home is saying the same thing. You look at social media. Why did they run the damn ball? Why did they run the ball? And they just run the ball. And Kenneth, they gave the ball to Kenneth Gainwell before they gave the ball to Swift in the first half. He got crushed.
Well, when it's 7-0, 7-3, you still run the football to control the clock. Now, when it's 14-3, you understand. You're trying to get back in the game in a hurry. But it's 7-0, 7-3. The fact that they still only had 4 carries is inexcusable. I don't understand this, because they have the offensive line, the running backs, to pound the stuffings out of a lot of defense, and yet this team will play into a defense's hands in a lot of cases.
Can I share something with you guys? Somebody sent me something about Kenneth Gainwell and his fumble, and at halftime he was actually on his phone arguing with somebody via text about something that they said on social media about
Kenneth Gainwell was?
Yeah. I mean, I got the Instagram post right here on my phone. So my thing is, and I tweeted it. I'm over the Kenneth Gainwell experience. I just am. I don't understand what the Eagles' fascination is with him any longer. I really am not. I feel bad for Boston Scott, because I think that Boston Scott can be a viable option for this team. Not only will he stick his face in there and will he protect, but he runs the ball well. He catches the ball well out of the backfield, D-gun. And I just feel like they want Kenneth Gainwell to succeed so bad.
Because he's a draft pick.
I don't care, but he's not productive.
All right, let me ask you this then. What are you seeing from Kenneth? Because let's be honest, us, as well as everybody across Eagles land last year, love the Kenneth Gainwell we saw down the stretch into the playoffs.
He's not giving you that level of play now.
So what is he missing then that we're not seeing from him? Because I still think he runs with the same style. I think he catches with the same style. I think he blocks with the same style. So what is it that you're seeing that I'm not seeing from his overall game?
Well, I seen him miss the block last week, that almost got Jalen Hurts killed. So first of all, neither one of our top 2 backs, neither one of them protect well. Neither one of them can block all that great. Boston Scott can do that. Now, you talk about what is he not doing? He's not producing. How many times do we get down on the goal line, or we're down in the red zone on first down, and they turn around, they hand the ball to Kenneth Gainwell, 0 yards, okay? Now, I realize the guy's got to open up something for him, but there's no production there. What kind of production? We've seen him catch 1 ball today and do something productive. The rest of the time, 0. And then you got Boston Scott, a guy that can play and can be productive, and you don't give him no run.
I'm a Boston Scott fan.
It makes no sense to me.
I need to back the truck up here for a second, because you said something that I'm trying hard to process. You're telling me that he's responding to a fan saying something about his ability on the field on a cell phone?
At halftime.
Oh, at halftime. In the locker room.
In the locker room.
He's looking at his Instagram.
Mike,
hold on. You covered the NFL for a really long time.
I'm going to tell you something, Mike. I'm not going to say any names, but through the years, when I've asked players about certain injuries or something like that, I've had players text me back at halftime in a game and give me an answer to a question that I have. Now, I did it initially as a joke, just to see. All of a sudden, I look down at my phone. I'm having a conversation with somebody at halftime, and in most cases, it was in a losing situation when they were behind. So instead of talking to their coaches, going over stuff, they're talking to me back and forth about
I can almost buy that because you're respected, and they're giving you information that is that they're not arguing with a fan.
No, I know.
About
you shouldn't have anything to do with the phone. Your phone should be locked away.
I understand. I'm not that old school, but I got to think that coaches, he's got it right there. Like, wouldn't coaches prohibit? Can they prohibit something like that? I'm stunned by this.
They should have a rule against it. I mean, I just
yeah, see this.
I don't
hold on a second. All right,
understand.
this is the
Don't say anything, but
all
just
right.
take a look at it.
But he's replying to a fan.
Unbelievable.
I can't.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I'm stunned by that. I really am. And that's got to be some kind of a story for somebody that
calling
covers the
Rashad
team.
Penny. Calling Rashad Penny. Calling Rashad Penny.
I'm just
Listen, man.
I can't get over it.
It's my thing is the only reason I bring that up because it's like, where's your focus as a player? Is my deal. When you're on the field, like this is your livelihood. This is what you do for a living, and you're so concerned with what everybody else has got to say. If you're not focused on the field, then what plays into that a little bit of, what's going on in the locker room at halftime? How can you be focused on what it is that you're supposed to be doing when you're worried about what the hell somebody's saying about you on social media somewhere? It makes no sense to me.
This is the most stunning thing I've heard all year that we're doing this show. I can't believe it. I want to clear something up here because I don't think TV did a good job of clearing this thing up. When after the touchdown to Julio Jones, there was a penalty or an illegal hit, and we're thinking, well, that would bring the ball to the 1 yard line. Why wouldn't they go for two there with the tush push, which is unstoppable? And then he went to a commercial. And, we're talking about it, and one of our guys, Bill, said, well, they'll probably take that penalty on the kickoff. And I go, why would they do that? But as it turns out, to clear it up, they picked up the flag.
Right.
Because we thought the same thing. Had that ball been set at the 1, you don't have a question that they would have tried to go for 2 there, right?
Well, considering what we saw in another tush push, I don't know, Mike.
Well,
no, but I agree with you 100%. Yes, there's no question you go for 2 in that scenario because nobody can stop that thing, right?
Yeah.
And that makes a difference in terms of how the game flows. So you're right, but the fact that the refs picked that flag up, you have to take the extra point. You just have to take that extra point.
No, I get that. And that put them up 31-24. Now, they wound up going up 38-24, and we're just kind of checked out at that point. And they let the Commanders come down the field, score a touchdown, to make it a little crazier ending than it should have been. Interestingly enough, the betting line, I love the betting line, Seth. You know that?
Here we go.
The betting line on this game was what? 7.5.
Wow.
Yep.
Right? So if you played the Eagles, you're not very happy at that point, right? You bet the Eagles because they allowed the Commanders to come back and score a touchdown. That's crazy.
Man. So my prediction on Thursday, when the line was at 6.5, I said take the over and the 6.5 with the Eagles. So if you'd have bet it early in the week, you'd have been fine.
That was the winner.
Winner chicken dinner. But you talk about the bad beat of people waiting till the end of the week to put their bets in when the line goes up. You just got crushed by a half a point.
All right, the Commanders were up 17-10 at halftime, but they were up 14-10. This is how bad the Commanders are usually, right? They're setting up for a 55-yard field goal,
right?
For Joey Slide. They get a false start. So that brings it back to 61, and we're going 61. They just took themselves out of 3. The guy bailed them out by kicking a field goal from 61.
Career long
to make it 17-10. So at that point, I'm going, it's a matter of time before this team gives it up. And so the Eagles' first drive in the second half, they start running the ball again, and they got a pass interference call on A.J., and there it was, all set up for them with the tush push, and they lose the ball at the 1. And you're thinking, could this be one of those games?
Like the Jets game.
Yes.
I'm like, that's the NFL for you, man. Every game, every day, it's like a different scenario, man. You can't script this stuff. Some people will say, man, the NFL is fixed. It's scripted. No, it's not. No, it's not. Now, I know somebody close to me who said the games are fixed. I'm not going to say any names. But
I just asked potentially, when you look at how some of these things transpire, like what's the chance that Sam Howell is going to throw that touchdown to the end zone? Like, come on, man.
Right.
I mean, what kind of coverage are you in that you allow that to happen with a minute left on the clock? Come on, man. So I mean, sometimes it really makes you wonder when you look at how things transpire. But as a player, I know full well, there ain't no script. That guy's trying to take my damn head off.
Yeah.
A script. You know, you out of your mind if you think that's happening.
You know what's funny? With all the rule changes that have taken place in the NFL, the one constant is, the one thing I hate about this game is, in general, is when defenses go to that prevent defense. Because you just let people walk down the field and get themselves back in the game. And, you know, we can talk about all the kickoff change rules and the coverage and the strike zone. That is still an integral part of football, is allowing teams to walk back downfield. And then, of course, you don't know what's going to happen with a fluke, onside kick, anything like that. I hate that aspect of the game. I understand the necessity of it at times, but I hate that aspect of the game. And sure enough, they don't walk down the field and kill the betting line, Mike.
Well, you know what the problem is, D-Gun?
Huh.
The problem is you don't have very many defensive coordinators left in today's game that really has, you know, that really has some cojones.
Right.
When it comes to, you know, how they coach the game.
Right.
You know, it's like I'm trying to remember what game it was last week where the 49ers, where Steve Wilkes was called into question because he called a blitz at the end of the game.
Right.
And the opposing team, you know, actually made a play. Now, my thing is, okay, am I supposed to play it conservative or am I supposed to play it more aggressive? Because if I play it conservative and the team systematically moves down the field and all of a sudden they score, what's the difference?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, you know, everybody's so afraid. If I got the elite of the elite athletes on the field,
Right.
okay, if I can't trust them to put their manhood against their opponent, to get the job done, then what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, what are they doing that's out there? They're on the field making millions of dollars, and you're calling defenses to protect them from giving up the big play? You know, stand up. Stand up and play the game. Stop being afraid. And I'm telling you right now, people just don't understand it. People just think that, all Seth want to do is blitz, blitz, blitz. Oh, he's living in the Buddy Ryan days.
That's what I say.
No. D-Gun.
I'm just playing, man.
No, what I'm trying to tell you, I know this to be factual. If you look at every aggressive team,
Right.
okay, you look at every aggressive team, what sets them apart from passive teams is their mindset and the mindset of their coordinator, okay? I played for overly aggressive defensive coordinators, aggressive coordinators, and very passive coordinators, okay? So Buddy Ryan was overly aggressive, Bud Carson was aggressive, and Greg Robinson, my last year in Denver, was extremely passive. He had the benefit of being passive because our Broncos offense scored 28 points on average per game.
Right.
So it's a lot easier to play defense that way. But my aggressive coaches, we were a more aggressive style defense because their mindsets was that way.
Right.
They called it that way. They expected us to play that way. And because they expected us to play that way, we had that kind of aura and that kind of energy about ourselves. When you call games passively and your defensive coordinator has a passive mindset, that filters to the team. You always say that, you always hear the team takes on the image, or it takes on, you know, how the head coach or how the coordinator, it takes on his image, okay? So if your mindset is passive and your mindset is, you're always in protective mode, you don't think that filters to your players and your players play that way?
Right.
When I see James Bradbury and I watch Darius Slay, I watched two guys that were Pro Bowl cornerbacks last year. Look nothing. They look like a shell of themselves right now. You want to know why? Because I feel like the mandate for them has been to, hey, don't get beat deep. You know, we may blitz every once in a while, and we're mixing up some coverages and whatnot, but we don't want to get beat deep. Don't even talk about it, man. Just go out and play.
All right, we're going to take a 45-second break here, and then the great Mark Farzetta will join us as we continue to we still have – we do? Okay, all right. Well, we're going to stay on for –
Not a problem.
But Farzi's coming. I've been told it's going to take him 6 minutes to get from the slot.
He's probably got a sandwich in his hand somewhere. He's probably eating some pasta or something.
All right. Man. Hey, did you see Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles?
Yeah, he's done. Done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's a good thing the team didn't trade for him. Anyway, so let's go back to that second half when they got the They fumble the ball away, and we're thinking, okay, the Eagles will bury him here. They're at the 1. Right? I was watching to get out of there. They wound up getting out to the 20, and we're threatening to move it even further. But they get your boy Covey gets a 25-yard punt return to give them great field position again, and they don't challenge, by the way, right in front of the Redskins bench. Yeah. They don't challenge the play that Devontae Smith did not catch. The ball hit the ground, and Rivera wanted the officials to get more time to look at it. We're looking at it like we saw it on replay. He didn't catch that ball.
Catch the ball. How do you not challenge
that? They don't challenge it. So the Eagles get a break on that. They have the ball, and then Hurts hits AJ at the pylon for the TD. I'm telling you, this dude is unlike a lot of receivers. He might be the most unique receiver in the league because his hands and his body are so strong. Those catches that he makes, that he takes out of the grasp of people. The coverages aren't bad on him at that point. He just rises up, Seth, and snatches it.
Well, listen, it's a unique thing when you have a wide receiver, D-Gun, that's able to adjust to the ball in the air the way that he can. There's not a lot of guys that can do that. A lot of guys, if you don't put it right here on them, or if you don't put it in the basket, on a over-the-shoulder throw, they can't adjust to the ball. That's a unique skill set, to be running a route and be able to judge the ball in the air and be able to judge whether, I got to dive because it's too long, or, I got to come back to the ball if it's too short. A lot of guys can't do that. It's like in baseball, a center fielder being able to track the ball off the bat. They know whether they need to get a jump on it or whether they need to get back. And what A.J. Brown does a phenomenal job at, A.J. tracks the ball while it's in the air. So while the DBs are so afraid of getting beat that they ain't even trying to look and find the ball, A.J. is adjusting to the ball. That second touchdown, they had him double covered. He came back, got the reception, and fell into the end zone. And I'm pretty sure the DB coach over in Washington is like, what in the hell we got to do to stop this guy? Like, dude, he's Superman. You can't stop this dude.
His hand radius and his hand strength, it's unbelievable. When you look at some of the snags that he makes, one thing to have a big body, and that's difficult enough for most DBs to cover. But you couple in the fact his tracking ability of a ball, his hand strength, it's unbelievable. It makes him the ultimate weapon. He may not be the fastest wide receiver in the game, but he is doggone for sure one of the most difficult receivers in the game to cover.
No doubt.
Listen, the Commanders had a 7-0 lead in this game way back when. And the Eagles they're using their RPOs in that next possession. But they stall out. A 3rd and 10, they throw a flat pass to Swift. Again, we look at these third down calls sometimes, and we're probably too hard on the offensive coordinator, but that play was a lousy play. Now, we ended up getting 3 points out of it.
What do you mean we're too hard?
Are we too hard on them? Well, let's look at that play, that flat pass to DeAndre Swift there on the 3rd and 10. It wasn't there at all.
You can't throw that ball if it's truly your – now, listen, if the intent is to throw it, to get some yardage and then punt it, and sometimes as a coaching staff, that's your intent, then that's fine. But if your intent is to really get the 3rd down, you can't throw that ball there unless that's your last option. You just can't.
Yeah, and fortunately, they got bailed out by Jake Elliott, who bails them out all the time. 51 yards makes it 7-3. Washington's next drive, they get the ball right down the field, and Jahan Dotson had a big game, 113 yards for Jahan Dotson, the pride of Penn State University, and he beat Sidney Brown in the slot for the TD, and we're going, ooh, that's not good. Sidney Brown's going to have growing pains here, and he's gave up a touchdown in the slot.
Jahan Dotson doesn't get a lot of notoriety because he plays second fiddle to Terry McLaurin, but Jahan Dotson is a very good receiver. And, of course, when you have a young, flourishing quarterback, your numbers are going to suffer because he's still trying to find his way. He's not getting you the ball with that type of frequency. But when you looked at that matchup, you have Jahan Dotson, who's an experienced vet, against a very talented young Sidney Brown who's going to make plays. He's also going to give up plays, and that was the case where he gave up a play.
Yeah.
He'll learn from that and move on.
Anyway, the Commanders are up 14-3 at that point. The Eagles look like they're going to score a touchdown, make it 14-10, and that's when we got the Gainwell fumble down at the 3 and Washington recovered at the 7. All right, we're going to take a breath here, and on the other side, Mark Farzetta will join us with his analysis as the Lehocky Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino continues after this.